Have you ever paused, really paused, and wondered what silent signals am I sending into the world that no one is brave enough to tell me about? It's a haunting question, isn't it? As we grow older, something curious begins to unfold. We gain wisdom, stories, laughter lines, and a lifetime of experience. But alongside these beautiful gifts, we may unknowingly pick up certain habits, small, subtle things, that can quietly shift the way people see us. And here's the honest truth. Most people are far too kind, too polite, or too unsure to say anything. So these habits linger, unnoticed by us, but felt by everyone else. But what if someone did tell you? What if you could see yourself with fresh eyes, understanding the small things that affect how others perceive you, and more importantly, how you feel about yourself? That's exactly what this guide is about. Today, we're peeling back the curtain on 6 silent habits that often show up as we age, behaviors that people definitely notice but rarely speak about out loud. This isn't about judgment, it's about empowerment, because once you're aware of these patterns, you can shift them. You can take back control. And with just a few thoughtful changes, you'll radiate confidence, grace, and presence at any age. So stay with me, because what you're about to hear could transform the way you move through the world from the inside out. Number 1, the quiet decline. When personal grooming fades into the background, let me introduce you to Walter. Walter is 82 years old. He has the warmest smile you've ever seen. The kind of man who always had a firm handshake, shoes polished to perfection, and a pocket square that matched the twinkle in his eye. But over the years, something shifted. At first, it was just the little things. He started skipping haircuts. His eyebrows grew wild and untrimmed. His shirts began to look tired, a bit too worn, as if they'd been hanging on a hook since the 90s. And day after day, Walter wore the same faded sweater. The one that used to be a conversation starter, but now seemed to swallow him. No one said anything. Not his kids, not his neighbors, not even his barber, who hadn't seen him in months. People noticed, yes, but out of love, they stayed silent. Until one day, Walter caught his reflection in a shop window. Not the one in the hallway mirror he passed by each morning without really seeing. No, this was different. He paused, and for the first time in a long time, he really looked. I don't recognize that man, he thought. That was the turning point. He booked a haircut, trimmed his beard, bought 2 new shirts. Nothing flashy, just clean, crisp, and fitting. That same week, something magical happened. People smiled more. Strangers chatted longer. His posture straightened, and he started walking taller. Why? Because when your outer care reflects your inner worth, people respond in kind. Why it matters? Grooming isn't vanity. It's vitality. As we age, it's easy to downplay its importance. We tell ourselves, who cares? Or, it doesn't matter anymore. But it does matter. Not because of appearances alone, but because of the message it sends. Neglected grooming, overgrown nails, dry skin, untamed hair can unconsciously signal a lack of energy or engagement with life. And whether they mean to or not, people notice. Studies even show that well-groomed individuals are perceived as more confident, capable, and connected to the world around them. More importantly, how you see yourself changes when you show up with intention. What you can do, you don't need a full makeover. You need a moment of mindfulness. Hair, regular trims, even just every 6 to 8 weeks, can work wonders. Skin, a simple moisturizer can revive dull, tired skin and bring back a healthy glow. Lip balm helps too. Nails, trimmed, clean nails speak volumes, even if no one says it out loud. Clothing, choose outfits that are clean, well-fitted, and make you feel like you again. If you wear facial hair, keep it neat and shaped. It takes years off your look and adds polish to your overall presence. Think of grooming as a quiet form of self-respect. When you care for yourself, others are reminded to see you, really see you, as someone who still carries pride, presence, and purpose. Number 2, the unheard volume. When your voice speaks louder than you think, let's talk about George. George is 77, a storyteller by nature. He's the kind of man who lights up the room when he walks in. His stories, always vivid, often hilarious, used to captivate family dinners and community gatherings alike. But over time, people began responding differently. They'd smile politely, but slowly lean back. They'd glance at one another during conversations. And his grandchildren, who once loved to sit and listen to his tales, now seemed distracted, always finding reasons to leave the room. George didn't understand. It wasn't until one quiet evening at his daughter's house, over dinner, that he caught a glimpse of the truth. He was sharing a story mid-sentence when he noticed his granddaughter physically recoil just slightly as he laughed and spoke. That moment hit him like a wave. Was he too loud? The next week, George went in for a hearing test. The results surprised him. Moderate hearing loss, common for his age, but enough to affect how he monitored his own voice. Without realizing it, George had begun to raise his volume in every conversation, overcompensating for what he wasn't hearing, not knowing how it was impacting those around him. Worse yet, in his enthusiasm, he had picked up the habit of interrupting, not out of rudeness, but simply because he couldn't hear the natural flow of dialogue like he used to. And here's the thing, nobody told him. They didn't want to hurt his feelings. So instead, they just started pulling away, magnifying glass still to the left why it happens. As we age, hearing changes are incredibly common, but subtle. You might not even notice them at first. And because hearing affects how we speak, the changes show up not only in what we hear, but also in what others hear from us. Speaking too loudly, cutting people off mid-thought, or dominating a conversation without realizing it. These are all unintentional behaviors that send unintended messages. I'm not listening. My voice matters more. I'm not aware. And while none of these things may be true about you, that's the impression others may walk away with. It's not about being wrong. It's about being unaware. And awareness is the first step to reclaiming connection. What you can do. Here's the beautiful part. This is entirely fixable. A few mindful shifts can make conversations richer, more balanced, and more enjoyable for everyone. Get your hearing checked. It's not just about volume. It's about awareness. A basic hearing test can help you recalibrate how you engage with sound and speech. Modern hearing aids are discreet, high-tech, and incredibly effective. Think of them as tools, not signs of weakness. Pause before you speak. Make it a habit to let others finish their thoughts. This tiny pause can work wonders. It shows respect, patience, and presence. Adjust your volume mindfully. Start noticing how people respond when you talk. If they step back, speak more quietly, or seem disengaged, it might be your cue to soften your tone. A helpful trick? Match your speaking volume to the person you're talking to. This creates harmony rather than tension in conversation. The emotional impact. George made the shift. After his hearing test, he invested in a pair of modern hearing aids. More importantly, he became more intentional with his conversations. He began asking more questions, pausing more, listening more, and slowly, his relationships began to deepen again. People leaned in. They wanted to hear his stories, not because he was loud, but because he was present. That's the secret. When you adjust with grace, others respond with warmth. Up next, let's dive into one of the most visible signs of aging, the clothes we wear and the message they send. In point number 3. When style stalls and comfort takes over. Wanting to keep going? We're building depth and richness with each point. Soon we'll hit that 7K word mark and create something. Number 3. When style stalls. How clothing quietly shapes the way the world sees you. Let's talk about Harold. Harold, at 80, was the kind of man who once turned heads with his sharp sense of style. In his younger days, he never left the house without a neatly pressed shirt, polished shoes, and a hat that somehow made him look both classy and approachable. He didn't follow fashion trends. He set his own quiet standard of dignity and care. But somewhere along the way, that part of Harold faded. It wasn't a conscious decision. It was gradual. Comfort took precedence. Convenience became the priority. He stopped ironing his clothes, stopped replacing shirts that had frayed collars or lost their shape. He began wearing loose, outdated jeans and oversized sweaters, not because he liked them, but because they were easy, familiar, simple. At first, no one said anything, but slowly, something shifted in how others responded to him. He noticed fewer compliments, fewer people looking him in the eye on the street, and his grandkids, who used to love dressing up with him on Sundays, started skipping their visits. Then came the moment. One afternoon, Harold was flipping through an old photo album. There he was, standing proud at a family wedding. Tailored blazer, crisp white shirt, confidence in his eyes. That man, he realized, wasn't gone. He'd just been quietly neglected, and that realization hit him harder than he expected. Clothing isn't just fabric. It's a message. Here's the truth. The way we dress is nonverbal communication. It tells the world how we see ourselves and how we want to be seen. When we wear clothes that are worn out, ill-fitting, or decades out of date, they don't just age us physically. They can unintentionally suggest that we've stopped caring, that we're stuck in the past, that we've disengaged from the world. And while comfort is important, there's a difference between cozy and careless. What the research says, studies have consistently shown that people perceive those who dress well, not expensively, but intentionally, as more confident, capable, socially engaged, energetic. In contrast, baggy, outdated, or unkempt clothing often triggers unconscious biases. They're not keeping up. They must not care anymore. They're not approachable. Of course, these assumptions aren't fair, but they are real, and they affect not just how others treat us, but how we treat ourselves. What you can do, the good news. You don't need a personal stylist or a whole new wardrobe. You just need a few small, intentional updates. 1. Choose fit over fashion. You don't need trendy clothes. You need clothes that fit you. A well-fitted shirt or pair of trousers can make you look instantly sharper and more vibrant, regardless of the brand. Replace the too comfy staples. We all have that one shirt or sweater we've worn for years. But if it's stretched out, stained, or shapeless, it might be time to let it go. Comfort and self-respect can absolutely coexist. Use accessories to elevate simplicity. A stylish watch, a clean belt, a scarf with a pop of color. These small touches can add intention and personality to even the simplest outfits. Embrace color again as we age. It's easy to default to grays and beiges, but color is energy. Even soft pastels or earthy tones that complement your complexion can brighten your appearance and your mood. Ask for help and have fun with it. Don't be afraid to ask a stylish friend, family member, or a store associate for suggestions. Make it fun. Make it social. Shopping isn't just a task. It can be a joyful expression of your evolving self. What changed for Harold? After that moment with the photo album, Harold made a few subtle but powerful changes. He donated his old clothes, picked out a few modern, better-fitted pieces, even got himself a pair of shoes that made him stand taller, literally, in E. Number 4. The emotional echo. How complaining and criticism quietly create distance. Let's meet Roger. At 75, Roger had earned every gray hair and every life lesson. He'd built a career, raised a family, and survived more challenges than most people could imagine. His stories were endless, his experience unmatched. But in recent years, something began to change in his relationships. Not in a loud, dramatic way, but in a slow, almost imperceptible drift. His calls weren't returned as quickly. Family visits shortened. Conversations with old friends grew more infrequent. It puzzled him. I'm still the same person, he thought. Why does it feel like everyone is drifting away? It wasn't until a quiet Sunday afternoon, sitting on the porch with his grandson, that he got his answer. They were mid-conversation when his grandson looked up and asked, "Grandpa, do you even like anything anymore?" Roger was stunned. He wasn't angry. He wasn't even offended. He was heartbroken because in that one question, he saw the truth he hadn't been able to see on his own. How negativity creeps in without us realizing. Roger hadn't changed on purpose. He had just gotten into the habit of commenting on things. The weather wasn't what it used to be. Music today was too loud. Young people didn't seem respectful anymore. Everything felt rushed. Technology was overwhelming. His knees ached. The world was moving too fast. None of it was wrong, per se, but it became the center of most conversations. And over time, the warmth, curiosity, and joy he used to radiate were replaced with a quiet cloud of criticism and complaints. Not because he was bitter, but because he didn't know he was doing it. And that's what made it so dangerous, because no one wants to sit in a room that feels emotionally heavy, even if they love the person holding the weight. Why it happens? As we get older, we accumulate wisdom and perspective. But sometimes perspective turns into comparison, and comparison turns into criticism. Back in my day, they don't make things like they used to. Kids today just don't get it. It can start off lighthearted, but it slowly creates a sense of distance. Even subtle negativity, if it becomes habitual, can make people feel drained or defensive. Because here's the truth. People remember how you make them feel. And if the tone is always critical or disapproving, no matter how justified, people will naturally protect their emotional space. What you can do, You don't need to silence your thoughts. You just need to rebalance the scale. Speech balloon 1. Track your tone. Start noticing how often you express frustration, judgment, or dissatisfaction in conversations. Just notice. Awareness is the first step. Use the 1-4. One rule for every complaint or criticism you share. Pair it with one positive, hopeful, or lighthearted comment. Example. Instead of everything's worse now, say, things have changed a lot, but I do like how easy it is to video chat with your aunt now. We couldn't do that back then. 3. Get curious. Not critical when something feels unfamiliar or frustrating. Ask questions instead of offering opinions right away. Instead of, I don't get this TikTok nonsense. Try, show me what's fun about it. I want to understand what you like. Curiosity invites connection. Criticism builds walls. Gratitude grounds you every day. Try writing down 3 things you appreciate, small or big. It retrains your brain to scan for what's right, not just what's wrong. What changed for Roger? Roger took his grandson's question to heart. He didn't deny it. He didn't defend it. He reflected, and then he chose to shift. He started conversations with compliments. He asked more questions than he answered. He talked about what he loved from the past and what fascinated him about the present. He still shared his aches and frustrations. He was human, after all, but now they were part of a broader, more balanced outlook. And his relationships, they began to heal. People leaned back in. His home felt warmer. His phone rang more often because he stopped being the voice of complaint and became the voice of perspective again. Number 5, the posture of presence. How you carry yourself carries a message. Let's shift now from what we say and wear to something even more primal. How we move, how we sit, how we stand. Because long before you speak a word, before someone even looks you in the eye, they're already reading something about you. Your body language. Enter Eleanor. Eleanor is 83, a former school teacher, a lover of gardens, jazz records, and crossword puzzles. She's smart, articulate, and full of quiet strength. But recently, something strange had been happening. She'd walk into a store, and the cashier would talk to her like a child. She'd reach to carry something, and a stranger would rush to help her. Her daughter started insisting she sit down and rest, instead of joining the walk around the lake. At first, she thought it was kindness, but over time it felt more like pity. It didn't make sense. Inside, she felt strong, capable, independent, but somehow the world around her had stopped seeing her that way. It wasn't until she saw a candid photo taken at her granddaughter's birthday that she realized what others had been seeing all along. She was slouched, arms crossed, head slightly down, chin tucked. She looked tired, not just in body, but in spirit. That image stunned her because it didn't match how she felt, but it absolutely reflected how she was being perceived. And in that moment, Eleanor made a vow. I'm going to stand like the woman I know I still am. The science of posture, body language, makes up more than 50% of our communication. And posture, in particular, sends signals about confidence, energy, openness, vitality, youthfulness. When we slouch, shuffle, avoid eye contact, or close ourselves off physically, we send unspoken messages like, I'm tired, I'm fragile, I'm not engaged. Even if we're none of those things, people notice before you do. You may not realize it, but posture is one of the first things people notice about you, even before what you're wearing or saying. Imagine 2 people entering a room. One walks tall, shoulders back, makes comfortable eye contact, moves with intention. The other walks slowly, looks down, arms tucked in, slight hunch in the back. Who do you instinctively pay more attention to? Who do you assume is more confident, more vibrant, more present? That's the power of posture, and it's completely within your control. What you can do: simple fixes, powerful results. 1. The invisible string. Trick: imagine a thin string pulling you gently up from the crown of your head. This naturally lifts your spine, opens your chest, and sets your shoulders back. You'll appear taller, stronger, more alert without any stiffness. Lift your feet. When walking, it's easy to fall into a shuffle gait as we age, but shuffling reads as fatigue. Practice lifting your feet and walking with intention, even short distances. It sends a message of vitality. Make eye contact. Even briefly, eye contact doesn't mean staring. It means presence. It's a quiet way of saying, I see you, I'm here, and it draws others in emotionally. Keep your arms relaxed, and open crossed arms or hunched shoulders signal defensiveness or withdrawal. Keeping your arms at your sides or lightly using hand gestures while speaking shows openness and energy. Be mindful of how you sit, avoid sinking or leaning back too far. Sit tall with feet flat and shoulders relaxed. Even while seated, posture impacts how people see your engagement. Man in lotus position 6. Practice gentle mobility or stretching yoga, tai chi, or light stretching routines can dramatically improve posture, flexibility, and balance. You don't need to be athletic, just consistent. Your body will thank you, and so will your confidence. Glowing star, what happened to Eleanor? She began simple. 1 week of posture practice using a mirror and that invisible string technique. She started walking slightly faster, just enough to feel intentional. She practiced uncrossing her arms and opening up during conversations. And the results? People stopped offering her help she didn't need. Her daughter stopped hovering. Strangers started treating her like someone capable again. Even her doctor said, "Whatever you're doing, keep doing it." Why? Because she looked like her real self again. And when people could see that version of her, they responded accordingly. Your body language is not just a physical behavior. It's an emotional amplifier. It can either shrink your presence or magnify your inner strength. And the best part? You don't need to say a word. Just stand in who you are. Walk like you mean it. Because when you carry yourself with purpose, the world responds with respect. Number 6, the silent barrier. How scent shapes social distance without a word. Let's talk about Frank. Frank was 78 and a total charmer. Quick with a joke, kind eyes, and a laugh that could fill a room. People used to flock to him at parties and gatherings. He loved being around others. He loved feeling seen. But lately, something changed. He couldn't quite put his finger on it. People didn't stand as close as they used to. Conversations felt shorter. Old friends still smiled, but from just a bit farther away. One neighbor even turned her cheek instead of hugging him goodbye. He wondered, did I say something wrong? Was he just imagining it? And then one day, after a short visit, his daughter gave him a hug and gently said, "Dad, I think it might be time to try a new mouthwash." That moment, though tender, hit him like a freight train. Because she wasn't being cruel, she was being honest. Something others hadn't had the courage to say. The senses don't lie. Here's what most people don't talk about, but everyone feels. Smell is memory. Smell is presence. Smell creates comfort or pushes it away. And as we age, we may lose the ability to detect our own natural scent shifts. Our sense is dull, but to others, those changes are crystal clear. Whether it's bad breath from dry mouth or dental issues, body odor due to medication, diet, or skipped hygiene routines, clothes holding on to smells from repeat, where's these things matter deeply. Not because we need to smell good all the time, but because scent is tied to how close people feel willing to get. People leaned in again, literally. His conversations lasted longer. His neighbors lingered. His laugh, once fading in a background, was suddenly the highlight of every room again. He hadn't lost his charm. It had just been hidden. The unspoken power of presence. Scent is invisible, but it speaks volumes. It can whisper, "Come closer," or it can warn, "Keep your distance." The good news? This is one of the easiest things to fix and one of the most immediate ways to regain confidence, approachability, and social warmth. Now, take a breath. We've walked through all 6 powerful yet often overlooked habits that influence how the world sees and connects with you as you age. But before we part ways, there's something important left to say. Let's close this journey with some heartfelt final reflections on what all of this truly means. Here we go. No more habits. Just truth. Just heart. Let's be honest for a second. Aging isn't always easy. It brings changes, some subtle, some jarring. It tests your identity, your routines, your reflection in the mirror. You look the same, but not quite. You feel the same, but the world responds differently. You might ask yourself, am I still being seen? Do I still matter the same way? Am I showing up as the person I feel like on the inside? And if you've ever felt like you're slowly becoming invisible in a world that moves faster than ever, let me tell you something important. You are not invisible. You are evolving. What matters now is not trying to be who you used to be. It's about becoming even more brilliant, intentional, and self-aware than ever before. Small changes, massive impact. Every point we've touched today, from personal grooming to voice tone, wardrobe to posture, mindset to scent, they're not criticisms. They're invitations. Invitations to reclaim your presence, to refine how you show up in the world. Not just for others, but for yourself. Because confidence isn't loud. It's not about pretending to be young. It's about walking into a room and silently saying, I know who I am. I know I have value. I'm not trying to impress you. I'm trying to connect with you. That's real confidence. That's ageless presence. The path forward, practical, powerful, and personal. Let's revisit what you've learned, not just as a list, but as a blueprint for your vitality. Take pride in your appearance. It's not vanity. It's respect for your reflection. Communicate with awareness. Speak with presence, not volume. Listen as much as you talk. Dress with intention. You don't need to be trendy, just current. Style is timeless when you feel good in your skin. Balance your words. Let wisdom speak louder than criticism. Be the person who brings light into a conversation. Carry yourself like you matter. Because you do. Posture tells the world you're still here and you're still strong. Stay fresh inside and out. Scent is silent, but powerful. Don't let small details push people away from big connections. You still have so much to offer. You're not past your prime. You are entering a season of refinement, where your presence carries more weight, not less. Where your stories, your grace, your calm, your compassion, these things are desperately needed in a world full of noise and speed. You have the opportunity now to be someone people admire, not for your youth, but for your energy, your awareness, your care, your dignity. And that's the kind of presence that never gets old. One final story. Let's go back to Eleanor, Roger, Walter, Frank. All those names we mentioned. They're not just characters. They're real people in real moments, choosing to take their presence back into their own hands. They didn't wait for someone else to tell them what needed to change. They saw it, they felt it, and they did something about it. You could too. Every moment is a new chance to realign how you feel on the inside with what you show on the outside. And when those two things match, you don't just walk into a room, you light it up. Final words. So here's what I want to leave you with. You don't need to be younger. You don't need to be louder. You don't need to be anyone other than who you already are. You just need to show up with intention, with grace, with curiosity, with small, consistent actions that remind the world and yourself that you're still here and you're still becoming. You are not done. You are not fading. You are refining. Thank you for walking through this journey with me, for reflecting deeply, for being open, for caring enough to grow. I hope this message stays with you, that you revisit it when you need to remember your worth. And I hope you share it, because someone else out there needs to hear these truths too. If this message touched you, drop a comment below. Tell me which point resonated most. And if you haven't yet, subscribe, like, and stay connected. Because aging with intention isn't a solo journey. It's a shared one. So let me ask you one last thing. What's one small change you're ready to make today? Because sometimes one small step is all it takes to feel alive again. Stay vibrant, stay intentional, and remember, you were never meant to fade. You were always meant to shine.